I want to bring in my political panel, Ramesh Ponnuru, senior editor of the National Review, Jackie Kucinich, Washington bureau chief for the Daily Beast, and Washington Post columnist Josh Rogin. Thanks one and all for being here. First of all, just to respond to this baseless allegation that the Senate Minority Leader Harry Reid just made, that there was coordination between the Russians and the Trump campaign. Josh, I'm very surprised you said that.
Throughout the campaign, Harry Reid has been in the forefront of making these accusations about collusion between the Trump campaign and the Russians. Most of them have not panned out. There's no direct evidence that there's direct coordination. They seem to be working in parallel at times. There are things that they do to help each other, but various allegations of direct cooperation have not borne out. So Harry Reid is committed to those allegations. It's not been supported by the facts, and he has declined to provide the evidence that proves them.
And Ramesh, I wonder, you know, given the fact that today we have the Speaker of the House, Paul Ryan, and Mitch McConnell, and a bunch of Republicans taking these allegations about Russia very seriously, do you think Harry Reid saying something like that helps or hurts the cause of trying to find out what actually happened?
Oh, it absolutely hurts. There is bipartisan interest in investigating this story, but nothing is going to discredit it more than the idea that it becomes a partisan witch hunt with these kinds of loose, baseless allegations being made by Harry Reid.
And let's talk about on Capitol Hill. There really do seem to be some Republicans who are very upset about this. You saw Marco Rubio talking about Rex Tillerson in a personal tweet, saying that he, you know, no friend of Putin's is what he's looking. He's not looking for a friend of Putin's to be as Secretary of State. And it seems to me that Tillerson almost might become a lightning rod for this entire issue of Russia.
The timing is not great for someone like Rex Tillerson to be top of mind, because of course because he works for Exxon, he was in charge of making deals with Russia. That was his job. That said, it wasn't his job to get the friend of Vladimir, as Marco Rubio called it, medal. So certainly his confirmation hearing is going, if he ends up being nominated, going to be a contentious one, because it's not just Marco Rubio. It's John McCain, it's Lindsey Graham, and there aren't a lot of Democrats that are kind of willing to lend a hand to Donald Trump and his nominees. So they better buckle up.
And in the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, which will hold hearings on the Tillerson nomination, assuming he's actually nominated, it's pretty evenly divided. I think it's 10 Republican seats, 9 Democratic seats.
It's 10-9. It's very unlikely that the committee wouldn't approve him. The real battle would be on the floor, where they need 3 Republicans. Now, if you count McCain, Graham, and Rubio, that's 3 if they all stay opposed to him. Susan Collins is talked about as another one who might be opposed to him in the end. The bottom line is the committee is where the vetting takes place. So if Rex Tillerson comes before the committee and he says the right things, and he says that he supports Russia policies that the committee supports, it could be okay. But if more is revealed about his ties to Putin, people are looking into that now, and if he continues on with a pro-Russian anti-sanctions policy, then that'll be a big problem for his country.
Well, let me ask you, because Marco Rubio is on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. If he votes against him and all the Democrats vote against him, I mean, those are a lot of ifs, but then he won't get out of committee.
You have to wonder if the Trump administration, the Trump team, wants to hit reset on this nomination, because you don't have this baggage, you don't have this set of problems if you put up Mitt Romney, if you put up John Bolton, if you put up one of the other people who have been discussed for this position.
But you do have a problem with their view on Russia and John Bolton, his view of the world, than someone like Tillerson.
Let's talk about John Bolton, because he said something the other day. He's being floated as possible Secretary of State or possible Deputy Secretary of State, and this is what he had to say about the Russians hacking the Democratic National Committee and John Podesta. Take a listen.
It's not at all clear to me, just viewing this from the outside, that this hacking into the DNC and the RNC computers was not a false flag operation.
Are you actually accusing someone here in this administration of trying to, or in the intelligence community, of trying to throw something?
We just don't know. But I believe that intelligence has been politicized in the Obama administration to a very significant degree.
A false flag operation?
Right. I think what this issue is doing, it's putting all the Republicans in a tough situation. And how they react is based on their likelihood to get nominated for a Trump administration position on the one hand, and they're facing a re-election in the near term on the other hand. If you're facing a re-election, you're going to be tough on Russia. If you're going for a job in the Trump administration, you're going to be more inclined to be more sympathetic to the president-elect's view on this. Okay, and that's where people are really shaking out.
But I mean, Ramesh, I mean, look, intelligence agencies are political organizations, and sometimes they shade intelligence reports here and there. Not all of them, not always, but it's been known to happen. But suggesting that this is a false flag operation, that this was the U.S. doing it to its own citizens and then blaming it on the Russia seems to me like a fairly wild allegation.
I didn't hear it that way, and his spokesman, Bolton's spokesman, has subsequently said that he did not mean to suggest that there was a false flag operation by the U.S. government, merely that it could have been a different power and that intelligence agencies
Okay, so
had
like the
botched
Chinese
this.
did it to
Right,
make it look like the
exactly.
Russians. Okay.
It's probably also not true. I mean,
But not as crazy. But not as crazy.
slightly less crazy.
But let's also remember again, Bolton is someone who has said that the U.S. policy shouldn't be in Russia's interest. We should have an adversarial relationship with Russia. So he again is someone whose views of in the foreign policy arena are very different than what Donald Trump has espoused. So
And in that interview, he comes out for an investigation as well.
right.
And Rex Tillerson is for climate change. So, what we can see from all these...
Rex Tillerson believes in climate change?
Exxon came out with a statement supporting the science behind climate change while he was CEO. That's something that's going to come up in the confirmation as well.
This is going to be a lot of
So
fun.
all it means is that
TPP.
Donald Trump, his foreign policy is simply unknowable.
This is going to be a lot of fun, and we'll all be back here talking about it soon enough. Appreciate it, Jackie, Ramesh, and Josh. Appreciate it. Thanks for being here.